Hey everybody, welcome to PPR podcast number 166. My name is Paul Rudy. You might notice that normally the chair next to me would be filled with Bert Grossman. Bert is taking a CPR class, part of his other jobs that's required, and consequently he got stuck in this CPR class, so he will not be joining us. So without further delay, let's get right to it. Let me introduce a man I've been wanting to have this chat with for several years now. Please welcome to the podcast, Coronado head football coach, Mr. Kurt Hines. Coach, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Paul. Thanks for having me on. I'm pleased to be here.
Oh, man, we've been trying to do this. I wanted to learn from you on a variety of scorecards, so thank you for agreeing to do this. It means a lot to me. Sir, first of all, how'd the move go? I know you were changing locations. Did that go smoothly?
Yeah, it did. We had the assistance of several coaches, several players. We moved from Chula Vista to Chula Vista, just 2 miles down the road. But we're blessed to be here. We're moved in, not completely unpacked, but we're close.
You and I have shared some conversations or short texts over first of all, I want you to know that when you've taken time to be supportive of something, sometimes I get my beak in hot water, and you've always been there to offer a word of encouragement, and I want you to know that means a ton, sir, because I don't know that we've ever met face to face, but you've always taken a moment to do that, and I want you to know that up front about that, how much I've appreciated that. But I'm interested in getting your take on how high school football in general, has changed drastically, quickly. And it's happening, now with kids willy-nilly going all over the place. You're a little bit immune to it on the island because you don't have to deal with kids coming and going as much as other schools. But it's the wild, wild west out there. Your thoughts, sir?
It is, and it's a blessing, as I said, to connect with you, Paul. This is going into my 27th year of coaching high school football. My wife and I moved out here to San Diego 9 years ago when we had our first grandson. So I was a head coach in New Hampshire for years, and many years before that being an assistant. We're not as immune at Coronado as you might think. We just lost our starting quarterback to another school about 2 months ago. I wish him nothing but the best, but being the eternal optimist that I am, we will continue and to just get 1% better every day, and I'm excited about the season. The landscape for me, Paul, as far as high school football is concerned, it's changing. You see it at all levels, especially with the NIL deals. I'm an old school coach where I believe you should bloom when you're planted, be where your feet are, water your own grass, and I miss those days of players taking pride in who they are in a community of players. And there are still pockets of that throughout, not just San Diego, but throughout the country. I think what we need to do as coaches, and I'll be quick with this, is bless, serve, and empower those we're blessed to coach as much as we can, and understand that we're not necessarily always going to have them for 4 years. We kind of have to take a college coach approach in that, hey, for as long as this young man or young woman is in our program, I'm going to do all I can to empower them and help them to thrive on and off the field.
Yeah, and at the same time, you don't want to be the guy going out there trying to pilfer kids, right? I mean, that's.
Amen.
I mean, you're either in that camp or you're not in that camp, and I like your idea that, hey, I'm going to coach the kids that show up, and 1 year we might have great kids, 1 year we might not have any kids.
Yes, and the biggest thing, or one of the biggest things I say to our young men all the time, is recruit the hallways. Don't worry about the 7-on-7 team you're on or whatever it is. Recruit the hallways. I think all of us, even Coronado, we have roughly 900 students in our school. We're not a large school. But there are a lot of young men I know that are walking the halls that are either playing other fall sports or not playing sports at all right now. And it's our job as coaches and student athletes to reach out to them and just invite them to come to the weight room during the off season, invite them to come to spring ball practice, and have them come out and get a feel for how we do things. And I think there's a lot of beauty and strength in doing that, and not worrying about what any other school or program is doing as far as recruiting and skirting and sneaking and stealing kids from our programs. There's always going to be three sides to every story. his side, our side, and the truth somewhere in the middle.
Right.
But I think we need to look at ourselves in the mirror as coaches and say, all right, here are the young men we're blessed to coach this year. What can we do with them?
Yeah, you know, you talk about recruiting the hallways. That's how it was back in 1978 at Madison Edgewood. I mean, our coaching staff was up and down. If you were an able-bodied kid, if you could stand up straight and do your ABCs, you were a candidate to be on the high school football team. And they physically added 6 to 8 guys every year just by, we'll teach you the game.
Yeah, and I'm also a firm believer that if how can I say this? And I'm not trying to skirt anything as far as being politically correct, but football is a game. It's a big pet peeve of mine when people say it's just a game, because I'm sure just like you, Paul, I know just like you, we have seen way too many young men's lives changed. People who were suicidal, depressed, anxious, whatever it was, because of being a part of something greater than themselves, it changed and saved their lives. Having said that, I had to speak at a young man's funeral back in New Hampshire who took his life, who was battling with depression, and I didn't know about it. We have to keep in mind that it's not just a game, but it is a game. And the reason I say that is, yes, winning is important. We have to win a certain number of games to keep our job. It's our part of our responsibility to put our young men on the field in a situation to compete with a chance to win. And at the same time, understand that it is a game. Make it fun for them. Make the practices shorter, more intense, more impactful, and get them out a little bit sooner. And when they mess up, instead of always having them hit the line and running all the time, coach them up and create an environment where they want to recruit the hallways and are thinking about their friends during practice. Like, man, I wish so-and-so were here because we're working our tails off, but this is fun.
Coronado, as you mentioned, a smaller school, but yet a beautiful school. I mean, it's hard to beat where your campus, just where it's located. Could you talk a little bit about how special it is to work and play at Coronado?
Yeah, as I mentioned, this is going on my 8th year as head coach there, actually. Going on my 8th year as head coach at Coronado. It's beautiful because for my wife and I moving from the East Coast, it's one of, not many, but one of the communities in San Diego that feels like a small town, New England type feel. It's a very tight-knit community. I love the fact that we have the North Island Naval Base as part of our home. That in itself is a blessing and a challenge because we have a revolving door of players and sometimes coaches that just come and go. But it's a special community that when I took the head coaching position 7+ years ago, they said, Coach, we're not a football town. And my pride didn't come out, but right away I was like, challenge accepted. All right. And truth be told, we're not a football community yet, but that's something just like raising a child that takes time and nurturing and constant care. And it's I'm blessed to have coaches on our staff. One coach I'm sure you know well. Our coaching staff this year ranges from 23 years old to 77.
Wow.
And I don't use the word great here, and I don't use the word great or legend often, but the great, legendary in my mind, Coach Mike Pompa is going on his third or fourth year on our staff, coaching the defensive end. And Coach Pompa has coached high school for years. He was the head coach at Southwestern College for a good number of years. He's just one of those coaches, as you know, Paul, that just through every fiber of his being does it for the right reasons. He loves the young men. He's a master at his trade, and he's willing to serve and help out in any capacity. So we're blessed to have him. So coaching at Coronado is, I want to say it's a dream, but just coaching in itself is a dream. When I was a head coach in New Hampshire, I was a part of building a brand new high school. So my first year, we had no seniors yet. We got our teeth kicked in every single week. Like, we lost bad. I joke about it, but at the end of every game, when the two lines walk through and shake hands, what do you say to everyone? Good game. We were so bad, no one even said good game. No one even lied to us. They just said great field, beautiful stadium. I was like, man, we're that bad, But another coach, I want to give credit here, but a coach that I know that you are aware of, Danny. His father's the head coach, Mike. I coached with him at Christian also, baseball coach. Oh, it's going to come to me. Anyways, he had said to me one time, we were talking, and he fell into the trap of chasing logos. And I said, well, what do you mean by that? And he said, well, I went from one school to the next, always going from D5 to D4 to D3, whatever it is, thinking he'd be happier if you were coaching at a bigger school with more 5-star players or whatever it was. And for some people, that's what coaching is about. For me, yes, I love the competitive nature of the game. I love the off-season training, the breaking down film. I love everything about the game, but it's about relationships. So it doesn't matter to me if you're coaching at a Division I school, an open division school, or a Division V school. If you're coaching to serve people and to help them to not just thrive in the game, but thrive in life, you can be anywhere. And Coronado is a pretty special place to be.
I bet. To call you a football coach.
I'm sorry. I apologize. Mike and Danny Mitchell, of course. I drew the blank, but Danny Mitchell was the one that had said that to me. And
yeah.
His father with tremendous success as a defensive coordinator, Christian baseball coach.
Sure. I know Danny well. To call you a football coach is short-sheeting you. I mean, you are a football coach, but man, you're a strength and fitness guru. You're a spiritual person, and you're a social media guru. I mean, you got 71,000 followers. I dream of having an audience as big as you have, or half as big as you have. How did you explain to me your social media success? How did it come to be? Is this something that you've always been good at, or did it just happen?
Like most men, Coach, I'll give credit to my wife. So I teach elementary school. I taught for 30 years, or just finished up my 29th year teaching first through fourth grade. And when social media came out, Facebook and Instagram, it was a natural channel for me, if you will, because I paint murals also. I enjoy painting. And I always say I'm an expert at nothing, but passionate about a lot of things. And I mean that sincerely. I dabble in a lot of things. But when Twitter came out, my wife was like, hey, get on Twitter. I'm like, no, I didn't have any desire. But my wife we're celebrating our 30th wedding anniversary this June 4th. She's my best friend. Thank you. She's my best friend. And she comes to every game. And back in New Hampshire, she would come to the games. And especially during the away games, we would be on the bus, just barely leaving the school. And she was already home watching New Hampshire's equivalent, if you will, of PPR. Appreciate all that you guys do. But she was watching the highlights of the games of other schools. So I would call her on the way home and say, hey, hon, who won this game or that game, trying to find out the standings. And she said, hey, follow Roger Brown. He was a guy in New Hampshire that still does a lot of sports reporting. So that's the reason I got on Twitter, just to follow Roger Brown to find out who won which game when. And then one time, and I'm not proud of this, but full transparency, one time I had posted something and someone just didn't quote tweet it, but just cut and pasted and put it on theirs. And I was like, well, it's kind of cheap, but whatever. So I was like, all right, I'll do a video. They can't steal the video. They could steal the idea, but they have to put their own video out there. And it just resonated with a lot of people. And I'll make a long story short. Excuse me. I got to turn off my ringer. I apologize.
No worries.
The beauty for me about social media, Paul, is, and I'm not going to get political here, although I do love our country. This must say a lot. I love our country, hate our government. But social media for me is like a loaded gun. In the right hands at the right time, it's going to do a lot of good, open some doors, save some lives. In the wrong hands, it can do a lot of damage. I think for so many of us, if we use the social media platforms, which are free platforms, and share highlights of our young men and share thoughts that we might be or think may be uplifting and encouraging, social media can and has saved and changed a lot of lives. So how it grew to what it is now, I still don't know. But it's been a really cool experience. 99% of my speaking engagements have come through social media, and I had a funny opportunity to speak in the Bahamas just before COVID happened. I got a private message from someone I had never spoken to before, and he said, hey, we'd like to fly you and your wife to the Bahamas to have you speak for 3 or 4 days. And Paul, I honestly thought it was one of those messages we get from someone from Uganda saying, kind sir, send me your bank account. I want to give you money. But so I responded, never expecting to hear back. And sure enough, and this leads into your question, it was for ADT Security, and they wanted to fly me out there and have them speak to their business owners. And it wasn't a humble brag. It was full kind of a imposter syndrome. But I said, I never was. I played Division III college football. I loved everything about Plymouth State. I was not that good to play D2 or D1. I never went to the NFL. So part of it, when I met with this gentleman through Zoom and his boss, I said, why me? I'm proud of who I am, but I'm just a Division IV high school football coach now in San Diego. And they said, well, they want people that are relatable. And if anything, I'm relatable in that I'm not making millions. Have never been playing at the highest level at any sport. But I think more and more people want people that are relatable, that they can say, hey, listen, if that jackwagon can do it, I can do it too. And it's been a fun ride so far.
Tell people where they can find you on Twitter or on X.
Yeah, I still call it Twitter as well. Coach, just like we tell our players, don't have fast cleats 34 or whatever, put your real name so colleges can find you. It's Coach Kurt Hines on all social media platforms. I have a website as well, and I have a book coming out. I'm really excited about that. It's been in the process for a while and should be coming out sometime, I believe, middle of June.
And what's that book about?
It's actually based off my tweets. It's the title is called To Empower, and it's really a personal growth book where I have a tweet that I once put out there. I dive deeper into the message or what happened behind the tweet, and then I have what I call a timeout where I ask the readers to kind of reflect on what I had shared and how they could take a step to improve or enhance some part of their lives.
And what was the tweet? What was the sparking tweet? Can you paraphrase it for me?
The sparking one was that all coaches play favorites, or all coaches have favorites. And it's pinned on the top of my page. I'll make it really, really quick, but had a player a few years ago at Coronado complaining that he felt one of our players or one of our coaches had favorites. And we were walking off the practice field, and I won't say the young man's name, but I stopped and I looked at him. I said, we all do. And he looked at me. He's like, you don't have favorites. I'm like, yeah, I do. He's, no, you don't. I'm like, listen, I do. I said, my favorites are the ones that show up regularly, are dependable, do what the team needs, not necessarily what they want or their dad wants, or their guru personal trainer wants. We all play favorites. Become one of the favorites. Show up, be dependable, encourage your teammates. So that's the one kind of sparked the thought of behind the book.
Do you get in hot water? You're a man of faith, and you're not
Yes, sir.
you're not afraid to express it, both publicly, social media, and yet in this world we live in, I mean, look what happened to the Chiefs punter, given that speech at that college, and there were people writing a petition to get him fired and get him canceled. That's how intolerable they found his message of, hey, you know, there's more than one avenue for women out there as far as a career. And I don't want to ignite another firestorm, but do you ever find yourself in the crosshairs like Harrison did?
Yeah, well, not at that level. Obviously, being an NFL kicker, he has a much larger audience. First of all, thank you again for having me on, Paul. But I love this question in particular. I think all of us in life, no matter what our faith is, whether we believe in God or not, we all have to have some type of hill that we're going to die on. Like what's something that we're going to stand by and say, hey, this is the hill I'm going to die on. For me, that's my faith. We have a team Bible study. Now, there might be people in Coronado that see this and want to get me canceled, and I'll ask you to have me back on as I look for another job. But we do a team Bible study. Sometimes it's 2 young men. Sometimes it's 11. Obviously, it's never mandatory, never will be. And it's led by one of our young men. So we're doing it the right way. My wife and I, as you mentioned, we moved this weekend. So last night we sat down just exhausted, and I was scrolling through Twitter. And I saw someone tweet about that incident with a gentleman from the Chiefs, and I had seen snippets of it. So I watched the entire 20-minute commencement speech. I thought it was absolutely beautiful. He and I won't get preachy about it, but he admitted he would not be where he was if it wasn't for his wife. And he was, in my opinion, and we all have different takes on things, he was empowering women. He was empowering the family unit. He was empowering people, understanding that even priests and rabbis and you name it make mistakes and do horrible things, but that we should acknowledge that there is something out there greater than ourselves, and we should make sure that we're not the center of the universe. That was my takeaway. But yeah, it's crazy. I get a lot of flack from it. I've been told to stay in my lane before, and I'm sure I'll be told again to stay in my lane, and I just shrug that off. The world's a dark and nasty place, and I think if we have an opportunity to be a light for someone else, then shame on us. Shame on us if we don't.
You know, Coach, I look back on my life, and next to the people that raised me, the most important people in my life either coached me or taught me. And there was a 5'9" nun by the name of Sister Alphonsine. She had a hair lip. And if not for that nun, I'd probably be in jail. I mean, I remember one time I was on the process of getting kicked out of high school, and Coach, I'm going to use a naughty word here, but I heard it from a nun, and she said, "Mister, I've known some fuck-ups in my day, but you take the cake." And Sister Alphonsine, but, you know, I got bounced out. She got me into summer school, and she got me into college, and if not for that 5'2" nun, that maybe 105 pounds, dripping wet, she saved my life. And I wonder if are you aware of that, of what the role that you're playing, and if you connect just with if one kid can say the same thing about you, really it's all worth it. It's all the aggravation's worth it, is it not?
Amen. Amen. We'll have to talk offline sometime too, and you guys can edit this or show this. I don't even know if it's live or not, but I want to start with this very quick story by saying I love and support our police, always have, always will. Are there corrupt ones? Yes, just like there are corrupt teachers and coaches, you name it. But when I was the summer after my freshman year in college, I got into a fight with 3 police officers. I had been drinking. I was in the wrong 100%. Long story short, I went in and out, and I was raised by 2 God-loving, God-fearing parents, had great coaches and teachers in my life. I was just an idiot that liked to drink and liked to fight, and caused a lot of damage. But one of the times I got arrested, I had a police officer, I was a center in high school, and our starting quarterback, his father was the chief of police in our town, and I get arrested 2 years later in a different town, and that particular chief of police in that town called me into his office, and he said, "Hey, Officer or Chief Young was talking about you. He says you're one of the nicest kids in the high school, a great football player. Everyone likes you. Like, what are you doing?" And I was just kind of, not a punk, but just like, "Oh, I like to fight." And he slammed his fist on the desk. And he said, "Do you know how many nice kids are in jail because they never grow up? Do you know how many nice kids throw things away, their entire futures, because they never grow up?" And he went on from there to talk about things that Chief Young had said about me. And it's like, man, what am I doing? So like you, yes, I've had countless people pouring into me. And I've been blessed to have parents and players reach out to me while they're still in our program, and a year after or 10 years after, and say, "I remember this, and I remember how you were always there for me." So that is the number one reason I coach, is to make a difference in people's lives.
Yeah, because the metric of wins and losses at the high school level take a back seat to character development, in my opinion. You know, we were fortunate enough to have Will Gray on, and he's a guy who's doing it for all the right reasons too, as you are. And you know, San Diego's blessed. Every coach I've encountered pretty much is, you know, they go into their own pocket. They help kids. I mean, Burt Grossman, for the Pete's sake, when he was coaching at Hoover, he had kids living in his house, you know, because they didn't have a place to get them off the street. So kudos to you and your profession. I just want you to know that you're loved and respected by a lot of people. Hey, coach me. I'm in your office. I'm sitting across the table from you. Advise me. What would you say to me?
As a player?
Yes.
The first and most important thing I ask all players, coach, and I ask our staff, and I try to take out the word "my" because it's not my program, it's our program. It's not my staff, it's our staff. Is why? Why do you want to coach? I ask our players all the time, why are you here to play? Because not every kid wants to play in college. You know, and even in Coronado, and I love Coronado. We live in Chula Vista, so I'm on the other side of the bridge. But even in Coronado, there are sometimes multi-million-dollar homes with more cars than drivers. There's still anxiety, depression, neglect, divorce, suicidal thoughts, tendencies here. Everyone everywhere are going through something. So I always ask our players why. You know, why are you playing? And once I find out their why, I try to help them to be successful. I think it's our job as coaches to meet our players where they are and help get them to where they never thought they could be. So the biggest thing is relationships. Take time with your players. And like you said, Paul, I know the great majority of coaches do this, not just in San Diego, but nationwide. The good ones, in my opinion, understand that if we build relationships with the players, not only can we get more out of them on the field, but far more importantly, we can help them, as I said, to get places in their lives that they never thought possible. I had a young man, and obviously I won't mention his name, Coronado, started for us for 2 years, great young man, went down a real slippery slope right after graduation. And I'm not saying that he was perfect by any stretch of the imagination while he played for us, but just got out of jail. And he was away for, I believe 2.5 years. And I've been reaching out to him, didn't know if he had a phone or if he had access to it. He just reached back out to me about 2 weeks ago and wants to get together. And for me, that's what it's about, to have our players not just know that we love them after a win, that's great, but after they get punched in the face in life and drop to their knees, to have them know that, hey, Coach Hines or Coach whoever said that they're always there for me, let me reach out to them. So that's the best part of it.
All right, I promise I'd keep this under a half hour. I'm sure you're very busy. We wrap it up with the same way with every one of these conversations. Best piece of advice you've ever received. What was it? Who gave it to you?
Wow, best piece of advice. Serve others. My father passed away almost 2 years ago now. And I'm sure if you've seen some of my videos, I have no problem getting teary-eyed. I won't do it right now because I'm not feeling it right now. But it wasn't until after he died, Paul, that I realized what a servant leader he was. He was always helping out neighbors, family members, strangers. I think if we want to have joy and fulfillment in our lives, go out and serve others. I know the darkest times in my life personally, and I love life, but the darkest times have been when I've been in my own headspace and just centered on my needs, my desires, my wants. Best piece of advice I could always or ever share with anyone is go out and serve others. And in doing that, we're not only going to bless them, but it just comes back on us as well. It fills our cups.
Coach, I think you walk it like you talk it, because I can't think of somebody else who's serving others quite like you are. I encourage everybody to check you out on social media. I mean, you're one of those guys you scroll to, and the next thing you know, an hour's gone by, and you haven't left Coach Hines' site. So quality
Let
stuff.
me apologize now. Let me apologize for taking an hour of your time.
No, you come on. Listen, I'm a fan. I've been a fan. We've been trying to get you into this podcast. I know Tuesdays just didn't work for you, so it worked out great that we got switched to Mondays as far as recording. I was wondering, before we wrap this up, I'm going to start editing our clips later today. If you could send me a picture of your old man, if you could send me a picture of your book cover, any pictures that you would like included so that we can make these clips a little extra sweeter. I know the bites I'm going to use. I'm going to talk about that. All coaches play favorites. I'm going to grab that off your Twitter. I'm going to talk just best advice I'm going to use, and then obviously we got a ton of highlights. So we'll use those. I can get those myself. But any favorite clip that you have from your archive, please send that along to me, and I will incorporate it into one of our clips. I want you to know how much I appreciate this, sir. I look forward to shaking your hand, maybe having you one day show up at our gala. I think you would really like the experience of seeing the end of your show. It is a cool thing, and if it's necessary, we'll get you up there so you can present an award, and then that way you have to come.
Not my staff, and I said, I hate that. Our staff, we had 5 of us from our staff there this year at the Rock Church, and absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Coach, it's a great vibe. That's great. We'll have you present an award this coming year. Kurt, thank you for your time. I'll let you get back to unpacking boxes, and I'll see you down the road, sir.
Paul, you're awesome. Really appreciate you and all your entire staff does, so thank you.
Yeah, we're really proud of the production over here. The high school football show, we're hoping to take it to a next level in season 26. So working together, I bet you we will.
Love it. Thank you very much, Paul.
PPR podcast number 166 is over. Everybody turn off the machines. Thank you, Coach.
Hey, appreciate you. Have an awesome day.
Hey, Coach, prudy at KUSI.com.
They said it again. I thought I logged off. Say it again. prudy, KUSI.com. Set pictures and any video that you want to send me. Rudy, RUDY, at